All right, apologies to all. We were having some technical challenges with the mayor's connection, but I think we got it worked out. To all the people viewing in the audience, we'll start off with just the Board of Commissioners and staff people able to participate and speak. When we get to the part of the agenda where you'll be asked to speak, or if you're one of the members of the public hoping to participate in the public comments period, I'll give you the ability to speak at that time on the agenda. But for now, we'll start off with just the primary players in the room. If you'd like to leave a comment, you can do so in the Q&A portion down at the bottom. And if you're signed up to speak for the public forum and you're not using your name as your handle, if you'll just send a message down there in the Q&A sharing who you are and what your handle is, so I'll know who to click on when we get to that stage of the meeting. Mayor, that's all the preliminary sort of housekeeping comments I wanted to make, so whenever you're ready. Mayor, unmute yourself. Mayor, give me a thumbs up if you want me to come down and help you out.
Now try.
There we go.
Okay. Okay, can everybody hear me now? Okay. Well, I'd like to say good evening to each and every one of you, and this time I'm going to call the Town of North Wilkesboro meeting to order, February the 2nd, 2021. I appreciate each one of you being patient with me. I'm not the best techie person there is, and I'm learning each time that I try to do this stuff. So, as I said, I'm going to call the meeting to order. At this time, I'm going to lead us in an invocation. And Robbie, are you hearing me?
Yes, I'm hearing you.
Would you lead us in the pledge once I do the prayer, sir? Thank you. All right, let us pray. Our most gracious Heavenly Father, it's again, Lord, we come to you, lifting up your holy name and praising your holy name and thanking you, God, for the benefits of life that you bestow upon us, health, strength, ability to be able to go about our daily chores and daily jobs. I thank you, Lord, for each and every one that serves on this board and each and every employee that serves the town of North Wilkesboro. I ask your blessings, Lord, on each and every one, and help us, Lord, to work together for the good of the community and for the good of one another. Now we ask that you would bless those that are in the need of your healing touch. We know, dear Lord, there's a lot of people that are dealing with the COVID issue and other health problems. So touch them and comfort them and heal them according to your blessed and holy will. And I ask all this in Christ Jesus' holy name. Amen. Robbie, if you would, please.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation,
One nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, please be seated. I have to be careful when I sit down and hold on to this chair. It rolls pretty easy on this hardwood floor. All right. The next item on our agenda is deletions to the additions or deletions to the agenda. Let's see, Wilson, do you have any?
Yes, sir. So we're going to pull item F, COVID civil enforcement briefing. We're going to table that for a while. And then I also want to clarify that we will have a closed session this evening.
Okay. Any questions from the board to Wilson on this? Okay. We'll move on into item number 7, consent agenda.
Mr. Mayor, I think I'll make a motion that we approve the agenda with this change noted by the town manager.
Thank you, Michael. I appreciate that. I need a second.
I second that, Robert.
Okay, thank you, Andrew. Michael, I really appreciate you keeping me straight, buddy. I get a little ahead of myself. Thank you, sir. All righty, all those in favor signify by roll call. And Angela?
Yes.
Bert? Okay. Debbie Ferguson? Debbie, are you muted? Ferguson?
Mr. Mayor, I think we just lost her for a minute.
Okay. We'll hang on for a little.
Hopefully this will get a little smoother. Did you guys see my cat jumped up during my prayer? I had my eyes closed, so I didn't know.
Dogs were barking because the doorbell rang.
I had no idea the cat was completely between me and the computer, and I'm saying my prayer.
Mayor, are you still waiting on me to vote? I had
Yes,
it.
ma'am.
Yes.
I think that gets everybody. If I've missed anybody, please go ahead and vote. But I think that got everybody.
Andrew,
Did I
yes.
miss you?
Andrew,
Did I
yes.
miss you? I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Okay, we'll get through this. Thank you guys very much. And that being said, motion carries, and we'll move on to the next item. Let's see here.
Mayor, if I can make a brief comment about the consent items. Items A, B, and C can be approved in one motion, but item D had a choice that the board needed to make. So if we can consider
Okay,
D,
thank
please.
Okay, let's see here. We need to approve A, B, and C together
Well,
and,
Mayor,
If you
point
prefer.
of order. I believe we have a public comment period right now, and that since we have quite a few participants waiting in the wings, we may have some people that would like to speak on matters concerning the town.
okay, Michael, Wilson was going to take care of that and those that are on the list. So Wilson, you want to take care of this at this time?
Yes, sir. We have 5 speakers signed up. Chris Nichols, Carl Spake, Nicole Sism, Caprice Cheek, and Elisa Phillips. If you are not one of those folks and you wish to share with the board, please send me a message down there in the Q&A at the bottom of your screen. But for the moment, I will, Mr. Nichols, I'll give you access to speak, and you should appear on our screen here momentarily, after which the floor is yours. All right, Mr. Nichols, if you'll unmute yourself, the floor is yours.
Gotcha. Okay, you got me now?
Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you very much. Council members, thank you for having me this evening. I come before you on behalf of Synergy Recovery Center in North Wilkesboro, located off of Peace Street. My client is seeking your approval for installing a new sign at the intersection of Peace Street and Old 421. The sign my client needs is not permitted under your current ordinance due to current zoning. I've been working with your town planner, Meredith, to come up with a solution. She has been very gracious, professional, and very courteous to work with. Meredith suggested a couple of options, one being to paint and or repair the existing sign that is very small. The other option is to seek permission to install the sign on the right-of-way from the NCDOT. The NCDOT representative reports that the road is not owned by the state, and documentation supports that the road was paid for by the county of Wilkes. The county has a maintenance agreement with the DOT. The representative said it is not NCDOT's responsibility to give permission in this situation, but that we should seek approval from the county of Wilkes since they paid for the road to be built. The county manager's office was gracious enough to send a letter to the town of North Wilkesboro granting permission on their behalf for the Synergy sign to be placed in the right-of-way. The letter was sent and received by the North Wilkesboro Planning Department, but we still need to seek approval from the Town Council of North Wilkesboro for the sign to be permitted per Meredith. So I come to you this evening seeking the Town Council's approval for the sign to help potential clients of Synergy Recovery find their location. Synergy Recovery has recently gone through nearly a $2 million renovation. They serve around 700 clients a year that suffer from various illnesses such as substance abuse and other mental disorders. It is critical that the most vulnerable of our population be able to find or locate the help that they need. This is why the Synergy sign is very important. Addicts and persons seeking help are already looking for excuses not to get help. It would be a tragedy if the lack of a sign enabled a person seeking help to miss a turn. Thank you, guys.
Okay, Wilson, we need to call for a motion to approve this. Is that correct?
Well, Mayor, I'd like to have Meredith say some things, but we're having some technical difficulties getting her on here as well.
Okay. We can hold and wait a while.
Another speaker on this item,
Okay.
Mr. Carl Spake. Mr. Spake, are you logged on? So please send me a message. I don't see your name on here, so please send me a message with your handle in the Q&A box. Here comes Mr. Spake. If you're using a handle that's not your name, please send me that in the Q&A box. Hearing none, Meredith is logged on now, so we'll ask her to share some information on this sign ad.
Good evening, everyone. Let me see if I can share my screen to kind of catch you guys up to the sign permit. Okay, so let me start with, first of all, the sign permit that was submitted for the entire property and kind of catch you up to speed. So let me share this real quick. Okay, so hopefully you can see that it's a sign permit application for 118 P Street. So we've got 2 wall signs, directory signs, direction signs, but I could not approve the monument sign at this time. So I'll just kind of briefly roll through real quick so you can kind of see the lay of the land, get an idea of where this is, if you're familiar with P Street, and where Synergy has gone into the property, and looks like they've done several improvements. So all these signs were approved. And then the sign in question is the monument sign. So let me get to that. Okay, so the location of the current monument sign is at the corner of Old 421 and P Street. It appears to be possibly already in the right of way, or it could be on private property. I'm not 100% sure since we didn't do like a survey. Let me pull up the GIS and let me see if you can see. Okay, this. So the little blue highlighted area is a residual property of Ayers property for across the street. And that appears to be like where the Wood Field or the Wood Edge apartment sign and also the Synergy sign is, if you can kind of zoom in and see the shadows. So it's a grandfathered in sign, non-conforming. He could reface it, or in this case, they want to do a monument sign, which is a different type of sign. And let me show you that real quick. This is the monument sign. So you can see the Wood Edge apartment sign is there. That's the proposed monument sign. And I've also got the letter from the Wilkes County commissioners and John Yates representing them, talking about how Old 421 on the Peace Street is, I believe it's county right of way, even though I think it shows state road, and that they are okay with this. But the clause that's catching them, which I cannot approve it, is where it talks about no signs can go in the public right of way unless they're approved by like DOT regulations or other avenues, essentially this being one of them. So technically the town board can approve a sign going into the public right of way, but we don't have any regulations on what that would look like, because technically signs in the right of way need to meet DOT standards or other standards that the town would have regulations on for size and safety. So that's where I gave Chris this avenue to come to you guys to discuss this option. And that kind of brings us up to speed.
So Mayor and Commissioners, my recommendation is that we don't vote on approval tonight, but we bring this back to you at a future meeting with, number one, a resolution that would formally express your intent to give permission to the property owners, and also with the complete sign application package so that you can see the colors and dimensions and so forth that they want to build their sign out of, so that you'll have time to review that and make sure that the sign as requested is acceptable to you. And so we'll bring this back if there's no objection at a future meeting.
I want to get the man his hats. He wants the hats. He wants the hats now.
Wilson, I like your idea of gathering the information and bringing it back to us. This is a very unusual kind of situation that I don't think I remember occurring, and I certainly respect what Mr. Nichols is asking for and would like to give him due consideration. So if you could get the information to us, I think that would be helpful. Do you need a motion to do that, or do you just need a consensus from us?
Just consensus. If you want to give the approval today, I would need a motion for that.
I want him to have the signs today.
So we need some more thoughts from other commissioners.
I agree with Debbie. I don't want them to, I want to make sure they put the sign where it needs to be, so it doesn't have to be moved, nothing has to be changed. It'd be nice to do it right the first time. And I don't think overthinking it is a problem at this point. I think Meredith does a good job following up and working with folks. I would like to see it, like Debbie, I'd like to see a little bit more time to consider it.
Mayor,
May I speak?
Go ahead, Andrew.
I think Mr. Nichols had a comment. Mr. Nichols, did you have something to say, sir?
I was just, if anybody's got any questions, I mean, I'm here to answer it now. I mean, I understand wanting to have information, but if I can answer any questions, I should be able to answer just about anything you want to know about the construction. And I also met with the representative from the DOT as far as placement, and he's okay with that. And I understand we need blessings from Meredith and from you guys as well, but I just don't want to make it a bigger deal than what it needs to be. Sorry. Thank you.
I have a question for you and for Meredith. My only concern is just, it's not really concern, just question is, where you're putting it, is it there being in the right of way? Is there any safety hazards? Is it safe from a line of sight point of view?
Yes, it's not in a sight distance triangle issue. We're making sure that we stay back far enough from that being any type of issue.
Okay. And you're not with Synergy, you're with the sign company?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
The Carl Spake, he owns Synergy and he was invited. I don't know if he had technical difficulty, but we spoke around 5 o'clock and I thought he was going to be on here, but I don't know that he is.
So did you have like a sign package where you were doing multiple signs out there?
Yes, sir.
And you've already got the rest of them up and
Yeah, this is the only thing that we like finishing the job.
I mean, I would probably rather have the package like Debbie and Angela said, but being that you're already out there and you have it going, if it's not a danger, I don't have a problem approving it tonight. Unless Wilson or Meredith had any safety concerns or other concerns with it. Do you, Wilson?
My recommendation was just to have our approval written out in a resolution that would essentially function as a agreement between the town and the sign company that they're going to place it in this exact spot with these exact dimensions, and there's perfect clarity on what they're permitted to do. And it would just take us, we don't have that resolution available now. And it would take us some time to create that, but I think there would be value in having the approval offered in that way, just so there's, like I said, perfect clarity on what's permitted.
Yeah, that
My
makes
question to Mr. Nichols is, well, first to you, Wilson, could we have this prepared by our next work session?
Yes, sir.
All right. Then my question to Mr. Nichols is our next work session is in approximately 2.5 weeks, correct?
Yes, sir.
So, which would be the 25th of February. Would that create
About 3 weeks. Yeah.
What's that?
About 3 weeks.
Okay. All right. So, Mr. Nichols, if that 3 weeks, would that create a hardship for your company if you had to table your construction for 3 weeks?
It's not an issue, no.
Because I don't think that this is a tough sale. I don't think anybody here looks like we're trying to negate you. I think Wilson's point of dotting our I's and crossing our T's so that there's nothing that, I mean, in some way it protects you as well as it does us. I do have one other question. if we were under DOT right of way conditions here, would the sign meet the DOT requirements?
According to the representative I met, there's no issues.
Okay, then, like I said, I think if Wilson, if everybody else thinks the same, but I think if we could get this done by February the 25th and actually bring it so that we could approve it at the work session so that, you know, we could kind of get them on their way, so long as it's not going to create a hardship for them. I think that would be a good way to go if Mr. Nichols is in agreement with that.
Yeah, I think that's fine. I think he was pretty easy going with it, the guy from the DOT, because of the type of road. It's, I guess, labeled as a secondary road. It obviously, if we were on a main thoroughfare where the sign was going, if we placed it more towards the old 421 side, it may fall under different regulations. But the location it's at, I think they were going to be pretty lenient on any kind of conditions.
I get, all right, okay. I'm okay.
Okay, the only other question I have is, since this is in the right of way, I don't have any regulations to offer for you guys for consideration. Their zoning district is office and institutional, so we could go by that regulation for sign height, width, measurements, because the property behind them is residential, which wouldn't really permit this. So that's the only other thing to kind of think about we could put in the resolution.
Yeah, but doesn't the right of way, Meredith, supersede? I mean, since it's being built within a right of way, and doesn't that supersede the zoning district?
Right, so that's where y'all would be the ones actually issuing the zoning permit. So
Okay,
y'all could actually make the regulations what you would like for them to be.
Well,
'Cause I'm not permitted to issue signs in the right of way.
right, so a simple resolution and a majority vote is really kind of with the distinction of size, placement, and all of that, I think is, I mean, that to me looks like the way to go.
Yep, we just want to clarify all that.
Okay,
We'll prepare it as if it falls under the office and industrial standard in terms of size, dimensions, and so forth. But we'll have the information about dimensions of signs that are permitted in other zoning districts in our pocket in case you all change your mind when we get there at the end of the month. Okay, if there are no more objections, we got our marching orders on them. Okay, thank you, Mr. Nichols.
Thank you, guys.
All right, so I'm gonna, give me a moment here. All right, the next on the list is Nicole Sism, and I think she's Nicole Rhodes too, so I'm going to promote her here. Nicole, you're on mute, but the floor is yours. Unmute yourself, and the floor is yours. Floor is yours.
Okay. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
So you can hear me and see me over there. It's been a while since I've done any online correspondence, but I appreciate you letting me join in on your meeting this evening. I'm just really coming to you to ask for some help with a problem that's been going on for quite some time. It's been going on for a few years. My family's been in the rental business for a long time, and the location of 42 Boone Trail has been a source of problems for quite a while. And probably some of you already know a little bit about that location. the residents there tend to acquire an incredible amount of trash and debris. I see them bringing it in on a trailer and truck, and I think they go through the debris and the items. They discard what they can't maybe use for profit or something. And everything is just dumped out there by the roadside. And it's right there beside my apartments, which are right up past the hospital on Boone Trail on the right. I have the Rhodes Apartments, and then there's a little A-frame house right next to it, in between my apartments and the missionary church in the building there on the other side. But anyway, I don't really understand why the debris accumulates like that, and that it's not placed in properly placed in dump bins as according to the codes of ordinance for the town. They have everything out there, from mattresses, box springs, car parts. There were bucket seats from cars out there once. There are tires, there's furniture. I mean, it's a nuisance, and it's also, it draws feral animals, and it's a breeding ground, I think, in the summertime, especially for mosquitoes and insects. And I've been over there with my maintenance guys before, working on problems at the apartments, and I've seen the sanitation guys come through with their trucks, and they're out there having to get these things up by hand. And I've seen them coughing and, just really kind of repulsed at what they're having to pick up and put on the truck and take it away. And I don't really understand, with the pandemic going on, why that they're still having to do that. But at any rate, I've spoken with several people there along Jefferson Street, business owners, and there's quite a few folks up through there not real happy about what's going on. And I get a lot of the brunt of it, because the wind blows the trash and debris across into my parking lot, and my tenants have to deal with it. I have 2 tenants that wrote notes for me to share with you, and I did send an email to Ms. Pearson, Mr. Hooper, and Mr. Johnson today, and some photos and things of that nature. But I'll just share with you a couple of things here that one of the tenants had written down, that about the trash around the cars and in the backyard. There's noise at all hours of the night. Sometimes it's a midnight shouting and dogs barking and people having confrontations over there. Law enforcement has shown up 13 times over there since 2016. Last year they were there 7 times. There's a I call it a little stubby truck. It's what they use to pull mobile homes with. It's really loud. They work on it late at night. And I don't know, they have another tenant. I'll share a couple things that she said, is that the large pile of trash at the roadside currently has been there since October of 2020, some of which has been in bags, but now opened and strewn about by animals, I assume. This is a serious health risk. While it's not pleasant to look at washers, dryers, and wheelchairs and toilets, these items seem to stay outside for weeks and do not belong in the yard. I find it difficult to open my blinds to see this view, and I'm embarrassed to have anyone visit me. Although not recent, the noise level at 2 a.m. and past midnight has been a problem. I've arrived home at night to find a person at my door waiting for a ride home from that house. And she said, Grandma has the keys to the car and won't let anyone take me home. And this lady is asking for assistance to eliminate the disrespectful acts of unsanitary conditions. It's been ongoing for quite a while. And recently they've been driving that dual tired heavy duty truck across my property onto my driveway in order to access Boone Trail. And I just had the asphalt redone and poured and I fixed everything this past summer, actually this past fall, and spent a good amount of money trying to get that to look nice and service, the way it should. And it's just a lot of disrespect and a lot of they just do. I feel like they just do what they want to, and they don't have any consideration for the neighbors, my tenants, myself, and then the other people and business owners up the street there. And I'm gonna go backwards a little bit, back to 2016. I know that's a long ways back from where we are now, but I was out of town on a weekend of March 18th, and I had a call from one of the gentlemen that rents the Boss Security, the building here in front of my office, and he let me know that there was a big fire across the street next to my apartments, and my privacy fence was up in flames, and the trees burned, and the shutters on my building melted. So the fire started on the other side of the fence in a tree stump, and my insurance didn't cover that, so I had to take care of that bill, which was right around $3,000 to replace the fence and to pay for the labor and to get everything back in order. I don't know. It's hard to deal with, really, and I'm very frustrated. My tenants are frustrated, and it's a hard sell when I'm trying to rent out an apartment. And I have my standards at such a level that I like things nice, neat, clean, and safe for folks. And it's hard to sell an apartment to a prospective tenant sometimes when you have that sort of mess next door. It hurts me in my business, and it's a constant source of frustration for me. And I've lost tenants before because of it. So, and I've sent some photos. Sometimes the photos don't really even do it justice, but I sent some photos out to a couple of you, and I'm really just appealing to you for some help. And I do appreciate the things that you do for the town, but I feel like that at this point I needed to get out here and have my voice heard, and I'm speaking on behalf of other people that are frustrated, and I'd like to see what can be done to get a handle on the situation and make an improvement up here, so I guess that's all I have, unless anybody has any questions for me about anything, or has any suggestions at what I could do. I really feel it's hard to work with these neighbors. It's hard to talk to them. So I need some help from the town.
Ms. Rhodes, have you filed a formal complaint with our code enforcement officer?
I have sat down and spoken with Mr. John Ganis and Meredith. I spoke with them over the summer, and I've been in contact with them, although not in the past over the winter months. Things have improved somewhat over there, but they seem to come back around to, and if I need to file a formal complaint, I will gladly do that. Wherever I need to fill out that paper or document, I'll be more than happy to do that, because this is years worth of frustration on my end, and I'll do whatever I need to do to bring it to the proper attention.
Mr. Parsons, I just wanted to let you and the board know that we do have an open file on this particular property. It's been open for quite a while. As she alluded, the situation has improved, but it may still be out of compliance. And so what I'd recommend is that when John arrives on Thursday, we have him go around and see if the property has deteriorated since his last visit, and if so, initiate his normal action against that property. And Meredith, if you've got any other information.
Yeah, I was saying kind of share. So it looks like you said, it's been going on for years before myself and John. John's been working with her. He's been issuing notices of violation. He's been giving her time to clean up because she's elderly and pleads her case. So he's been trying to work with her. But it sounds like her children or grandchildren are the ones that are coming onto her property and making the mess. So it sounds like a combo of things. He goes by weekly. That's the thing. He's only here on Thursdays, goes by weekly to monitors it. So there is a little bit of a layover where we might miss something. One of the things we could do is we could just go ahead and go in and abate the property. And that means we just clean up everything, put a lien on it, and it's resolved. But this issue sounds like we're going to have repeat offenders. They're just going to keep coming back and keep making the mess. So it's an ongoing issue. And this might be something where the different departments need to get together and, monitor it. Maybe our trash department doesn't help them out as much as they used to. It sounds like it could be a collage of different issues on this property.
I'll add one more little thing that just came to mind. Just last night, one of my tenants over there sent me a message and indicated that they have a logging chain attached to one of their outbuildings, storage buildings, and attached to one of my trees. and I don't know why, but these are the kinds of things that are happening over there. And it's it's not acceptable in my opinion.
Right. So we're going to have to, I guess, investigate it more, and we'll look at abating it if that's an option, or, trying to get in touch with maybe the children and the grandchildren that are causing this issue versus the property owner. So I know that's not a direct answer for tonight, but it is on our case file. Like I mentioned, he updates it monthly to the Board of Commissioners, and there are a lot of dates because there's been a lot of site visits, a lot of letters, and a lot of trying to get her to comply.
Thank you, Meredith, for adding that info.
Ms. Rhodes, thanks for coming and voicing your concerns to us.
Thank you. I appreciate your time and your consideration very much.
Yeah, and I would also encourage you to have your tenants, when they hear things at night or something seems, for lack of better terms, if they see something weird going on, have them call the police. That's what
okay. I'll speak to that. I understand where you're coming from, and I have discussed that with them. I don't think that is a good option necessarily because they fear retaliation from the neighbors in the way of perhaps causing damage to their cars or something vengeful like that. I mean, and personally, if I lived there myself, I would be hesitant to call the police to come out because those tenants are right there next door to the problems, and they're going to be, I feel like they may be targeted, and they feel like they may be also. So while that is good in theory, there could very well be some vindictive nature in retaliation to something like that. And so therefore they don't feel comfortable calling for law enforcement to come intervene like that.
I would understand what you're saying. I think that you're kind of limited on your options on what you can do, and I'm pretty sure they could call anonymously if that helps. But short of that, I don't know that you can really do anything about some of the complaints regarding the noise at night and stuff. But I understand that the people that live there probably don't like that at all. Mm-hmm. But I would just want to say thanks for coming, and hopefully Meredith can help, and we can help at least get that cleaned up. But it sounds like Meredith, what she said, it's going to take a long-term approach or to talk to the right people. But sorry you're dealing with it, and I appreciate you coming.
Thank you.
Mayor and Commissioners, I have a letter from the speaker and some of her neighbors that I'll circulate and share with you all. And if there's no objections, what staff will do is we'll follow Meredith's recommendation and see what our next steps are in regards to code enforcement and touch base with some of the other departments about the challenges that they've been having with providing service to that, and see if there's if that would feed into any of the code enforcement measures that we could take. And we'll
That
follow
sounds
up
like a-
here shortly.
Sounds like a good plan, Wilson. Thank you for coming up with some ways to try to help fairly quickly.
Very much appreciate it, Mr. Hooper.
Thank you, Nicole. Take care.
All right.
Wilson
Yes.
and Meredith, for what it's worth, from my point of view, like if John's already been out there and doing stuff, I guess I just want you to know you've got my support to take whatever efforts that you can do to help her, because it sounds like it's been going on a while, and I know it's not easy, but you've got my support to use the tougher tools in the toolbox, I guess.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
I think that's probably true for all of us, for her concerns.
Okay, next on the list is Caprice Cheek. I don't see her on the list here. Caprice, if you're using a different handle, please send me a message down there in the Q&A box.
I received an email from Ms. Cheek right before this meeting. I think she said she had an illness in the family and she might not be attending.
All right, Elisa Phillips, Phillips. If you're online and using a different handle, please send me a message in the Q&A box down at the bottom. And if there's anyone else who would like to speak to the board, please send me a message down in the Q&A box. All right, last call for Elisa Phillips. Okay, Mayor, that's all I got on the list. So I think that if there's no more messages from the gallery, that we've gotten through the public comment section. And I don't see any comments or questions in the Q&A.
Are we ready to keep moving forward?
We're working on it. Rob, while we're waiting, can I just ask you a quick question? In regards to our last speaker, I know she's concerned for her tenants and their safety, but is there a way that maybe that an officer or two could maybe make an extra patrol up that way occasionally just to kind of keep an eye on things?
Sure. Yeah, we can. And Meredith and I had spoken about this briefly before the meeting, and the grandkids that live there, they're not nice people. We have dealt with them for years, and they are the type that would come back and probably do something to their cars at night or something of that nature. So I agree with what she's saying, and I'm going to reach out to her tomorrow and see if we can put our heads together and come up with a plan to, mainly make the residents feel safe, because I don't want people to be afraid to call us. That's a scary thing. And hopefully I can get with her and we can put our heads together between all of us and we can make a plan.
Thank you, Rob.
Okay, Wilson, I think I finally was successful. I am unmuted.
All right. I think we're ready to move on if you are.
I am. Okay. Town manager and attorney's report.
I do have a report, but we have not done the consent items yet.
Okay, let's back up. I'm sorry, and take care of all the items on the consent agenda.
So I'll share again what I shared before, and that is items A, B, and C can be approved in one motion if it's the board's preference. But item D needs to be discussed separately.
Mr.
Okay.
Mayor,
Yes, sir.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that items A, B, and C of the consent agenda be approved in one motion, please.
I'll second that motion, Mayor.
Have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Roll call. Angela?
Yes.
Bert? Okay. Okay. Andrew?
Yes.
I think that gets everybody. All right. We'll move on into our next item.
So item D is
Yeah.
a continuation of what we talked about last week, and that is amending the meeting calendar to add May 5th as the date of the board retreat. But the choice here that I'd like for you all to vote on is whether you want to hold the regularly scheduled meeting earlier that week or just have the retreat. So whether we have one or two gatherings that week.
Okay. Go ahead, Andrew. It's open to that.
I personally like having the regular meeting also, but I'm okay with whatever.
And Wilson, I'm not sure, is it March 5th or May 5th?
March 5th.
Okay.
Okay.
Nelson,
Michael,
you need that made in the form of a motion, which calendar to accept.
Yes, sir.
All right, so we can technically call this calendar 2 since it's the next page after the one, because it has the March 2nd meeting and the March 5th meeting, correct?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we accept the second calendar proposal that includes a regular meeting on March the 2nd and a regular meeting, and a board retreat on March the 5th.
Thank you, Michael. I need a second. Okay, thank you, Bert. Okay. Now we'll do the roll call. Angela?
Yes.
Andrew?
Yes.
Debbie Ferguson?
Yes.
That gets everybody unanimous. Okay, Wilson, put that on the agenda and make everything work out, buddy.
Will do.
Okay, let's see. That gets us through consent agenda. Moving on down. Let's see. Manager and attorney's report. You want to do the policy stuff first before we do the manager and attorney report, or do you have anything?
I have a report. It should take about 10 minutes.
Go right ahead, sir.
Okay. Mayor, I'm going to mute you just because we have feedback, if that's okay. So I've gotten some feedback from a couple of commissioners that they'd like to hear as we go into budget season, an update on several of our outstanding town projects, and then a list of some of the things we've accomplished over the last year. And I do think that's good information to have as we get into the budget season, because we know what we can check off the list and we know what we might need to fund some more as we keep working on. So tonight, I'm going to start with an update on a couple of our outstanding big projects, and in subsequent meetings, I'll share some of our accomplishments. So the three I'm going to cover today are the outdoor economy, which I haven't given you a report on in a while, the water tower project, and what was formerly known as the intake project, and I refer to it now as the water plant upgrade project. So the outdoor economy project, here in the coming weeks, we're going to be able to see the first tangible product of our cooperation with our partners on that project. And our partners are the town of Wilkesboro, the county, the Health Foundation, the hospital, and I might be missing some. Meredith can fill me in later. But the product that we're going to unveil here shortly is a comprehensive online website based on the GIS format, listing just about every recreational amenity in Wilkes County. So it's chock full of information. It has profiles on dozens and dozens of recreational amenities. This website was put together with the help of the High Country Council of Government. And once it's launched widely, it'll be a fantastic tool for residents of the county, but also for potential visitors who are looking to come here for recreational tourism. After that's launched, the next thing the outdoor economy group is going to work on is an RFP to hire a firm that can help the group identify the long-term strategy for enhancing our recreational assets here in the county. The plan, once completed, in my opinion, will double as the long-term capital investment plan for our parks, because it's going to inform what the mix of recreational amenities in North Wilkesboro should look like, what capital investments we should make, and how we can better align our parks with the recreational amenities that are provided by our neighbors, and better align our parks with what our residents and what our visitors want to see. You know, one of the things I've always been afraid of is that if the county builds a bunch of baseball fields and Wilkesboro builds a bunch of baseball fields and we build a bunch of baseball fields, we'll have enough baseball fields, but we won't have enough soccer fields. So one of the things that this report will do is try to figure out how to distribute the amenities across the county so that we don't duplicate each other's efforts and we build essentially one big system that services the whole county. We are going to have to make a financial commitment to this bit of the project, but we've got some savings in the park budget from not having their Christmas party and not opening the pool and not providing some of the other recreational activities they do. So I think we'll be able to find the money for that. And if you'd like to see a preview of the site, let me know and I'll send you a link that you can play around and look and see about that site. All right, moving on to the water tower project. This one's the most exciting because I think we're close to the goal line on this one. Two of our funding agencies, the North Carolina Department of Commerce and Golden Leaf, have already given us a go-ahead to start spending money. With that said, we're still waiting on the approval of a couple other state agencies to approve our construction contract one. And I just spoke with our advisors, Kimley Horn, yesterday about some answers to a couple of the technical questions that the state agency had, and to the LGC, of course, who has to approve our borrowing. We are scheduled to go before the LGC on March the 2nd. And once those two agencies give their approval, which I think will be pretty quickly after they hear the item, we can sign our contract with Phoenix, the construction company, and construction to begin. We'll try to have some sort of groundbreaking or some sort of ceremony to mark that occasion. Now, there are a couple more details on this one that I want to discuss with you here. The direction from past boards was to finance all of the town's financial contribution, so that the capital reserve fund we've been spending on the design and so forth so far will be replenished with grant money over the years. But one of the wrinkles that the state agency that's reviewing the contract has brought up here in the last week is that they're recommending that we increase our contingency fund by $113,000. So we set aside about $113,000 more just in case there's unanticipated expenses with the contract. Now, we're waiting to hear back from them about whether if we want the grant to cover this extra $113,000, we'd need to postpone our LGC date. If the answer is yes, I'd be inclined to say we don't want to borrow that extra money. We'll cover that with cash from our capital reserve funds if we need it. I'm sort of the opinion that if you've got the money in the bank and you can afford to pay for something in cash rather than finance it, you might as well, because that way you won't be paying interest on it for years to come. And I do think we have the money in the bank to cover this extra money if we needed it. But again, it's reserve contingency funds that we might not even need. So we're waiting for some more information on that. And once we get it, I'll come back to you and get your thoughts on that matter. But by and large, this project is moving ahead steadily, and we'll be turning dirt on the water tower soon. Okay, now I'll move on to the project formerly known as the intake project, now known as the water plant upgrade. Last year, when the county was reluctant to expand the watershed, which we needed to build the intake on the Yadkin River, we had to pivot pretty hard on this project. We took away the intake element of it, and now it's focused only on the upgrade to our water treatment plant. Now it's still in the design phase. Kimley Horn is our advisor on this, and they're preparing the preliminary engineers, they've already prepared a draft professional engineers report and submitted that to the state. The state hasn't approved it yet because they've been going back and forth with Kimley Horn on some technical matters. Because we've been going back and forth and haven't come to a conclusion yet, we've had to request an extension from the state. And we did that here just this past week. The extension we're requesting is till May 1st to get that report finalized. But once it's finalized, the state has 30 days to approve it. And when they approve it, we'll go into what I call sort of a quiet period, anywhere from about 9 to 12 months, where Kimley Horn puts together the detailed schematics, the detailed specs for the project that we'll eventually use to bid the project. So let's say a year later in the summer of 2022, we'll finally put the project out to bid for construction to start perhaps in the late summer or fall, and this one go into service in the summer of 2023. So that's my projection for the date of completion on that one. So anyway, we've still got quite a bit of the field to cover on that one, but we're still making progress. So just a reminder that this treatment plant update will only solve one of the issues that inspired us to apply for the state for help in the first place, and that's the turbidity of our raw water. The project will install what's called an ActiFlow mechanical pre-treatment system. Now, we're getting into the area where most of this stuff goes over my head, but I'll do my best, and Dale's here to answer any more technical questions if you have them. But essentially what this is a big machine about the size of a trailer for a truck that takes the raw water and uses coagulants and other processes to take the solids, the dirt and the mud and so forth, out of the raw water before it even goes into our treatment system. And it's a much more efficient process because currently the filters that we use have to be cleaned with treated water. And so we lose some of the water we treat to keeping the system going. The ActiFlow would eliminate that. It cleans the filters and its other mechanisms differently. And the project will also see us replace the pipes and hardware that run from the intake down on the river up to the treatment plant. And hopefully that'll reduce some of our head loss. So even though it'll be a small percentage, not only will our water be treated better and with a more up-to-date system, but we should lose some of the, we should gain some fresh water back to sell and use and not have as much loss as we have in the system now. So it'll address turbidity and give us a little bit more efficiency. But I confess that it doesn't solve our drought vulnerability problem. There's actually a second path that I'm working on that I want to share with you tonight, specifically to codify what is currently a gentleman's agreement with Wilkesboro about water sharing. You know, currently we have an agreement with them where if one town needs water from the other, we'll turn on the taps and let them borrow some of our water free of charge. And that's good for instances where you need to borrow water for a short time, maybe just a few days. But any longer than a few days, and number one, it becomes a significant financial burden on the producing town to spend all that money and then give the finished product for free to your neighbor. But also it might trigger some chemical things in the lines that would make the water less than fresh. Specifically, the way that the two towns treat the water, the different ways that the two towns treat the water means that if it runs in the other town's pipes for more than a week or so, it might start chipping off some of the corrosion control on the inside of the pipes. And so for the towns to be able to share water with one another long term, you'd have to make some both physical and chemical updates to the system in order to make that work. The state does have some grant money available for systems that are looking to combine and share with one another like that. And the town of Wilkesboro and I have been talking about applying for some of that money in the future. But we've had an advisor tell us that before we do that, we need to demonstrate to the state that we can work together. The state still thinks that the relationship between the two towns is bad. And one of the ways that we could do that is to sign a memorandum of understanding, a MOU, codifying the terms under which we'd share water with one another. So the rate we charge to one another, the circumstances that might trigger it, and so forth. To codify those in an MOU, and then show that to the state when we go to apply for the grant money that shows we can work together on that. So the reason I'm even talking about that in the first place is because if we had this in place and we got in a serious drought condition here in the next 2 years before we figured out the intake question, we could turn to them and we could buy water from them and keep us in water for the length of the drought. A system that can freely interchange, as I just described, and slightly higher efficiency on our current treatment plant will at least buy us some time to figure out what the final intake solution should be. So we've sort of punted on the intake for a while, and we've figured out these two other things that will buy us a little bit of time to think about what the best solution for the intake is. Okay, so those are the updates on the big ongoing projects that I wanted to share with you. And then, like I said, I'll share updates on some of our accomplishments here in coming meetings. Does anyone have any questions or comments?
I've got a quick question maybe for Dale. I've heard you talk about the two water systems, how they can create problems. Does Dale have any more like information that we might be able to understand on how that works?
It's basically the corrosion inhibitor. The two towns is using two different methods to prevent corrosion in the lines. And if either town furnished water into the other system for a while, it may start breaking rust and particles loose inside the lines. So what Wilson's talking about is working with them and getting some type of mutual agreement where we're using a system where we could share water without that happening.
Thanks, Dale. What kind of system do we use? What are we doing, Dale?
We usually use, we do it chemically, where they do it with pH only. And I'm not going to say which one's better than the other. It's all just a matter of opinion. But the chemical is more popular in today's method.
So would it just take one of the towns to decide to do what the other town is doing? And then what about the stuff in the pipes that would break off once that happened?
Yes, there would be a period of transition. We'd need an engineer to direct us with that. Probably a slow method of changing. You wouldn't want to change all at one time. But yes, the towns would have to come together and decide which method is we'll use.
Thank you, Dale.
Wilson, I really appreciate your report. You provided a lot of information about matters that it's helpful for us to know about, so we can share that information with citizens that are interested in what's going on. But I appreciate that you have been chugging away at your work through this COVID time, that it's hard to know what's really happening. So thank you.
You know, I use a football analogy a lot, and my football analogy on this one is that we're a running team, and we pick up yardage 5 or 6 yards at a time. We don't have Tom Brady that we pick up 40 and 50 yards at a time. We just sort of chug along and chip away at the yardage, and at least on the water tower, close to the goal line. That's all for my report. Danny, do you have a report?
Not at this time, no, sir.
All right, Mayor, unmute yourself. The next item is one that I thought you might want to say a few words about. There you go.
All right. Again, I say to the board and everybody else that has been on involved in the town board meeting, I appreciate your patience and bearing with me to be able to operate this meeting by one click or 2 clicks or whatever. At this time, I don't have anything else to say to the board other than I will say that it's been, I'll echo what's been said, that I appreciate your work and Dale's work on this water tower and intake and all that stuff. So that's all I've got. Does any of the other board members have any topic that they want to address before we adjourn?
Mr. Mayor, I think we're back up at E on the High County Council of Government Charter update.
Okay.
I was hoping you had some comments to share on that one.
Well, thing that I would say, and I brought a copy down from the High Country, and we have all the charter has been updated. There's very few updates in it, but I don't have it in front of me. But Wilson, do you have a copy of it?
Yes, sir. So I would actually recommend that the board members refer to attachment 2, the proposed charter amendment summary. That was actually provided by the COG themselves. And so that's probably the most accurate document sharing the changes here this evening.
And at this time, do we need to have a motion from the board to approve the update? I'm thinking that's what we need to do.
Yes, sir.
Well, I guess do you guys feel comfortable with what you see on it at this time, or do you want to look and review it more before we have a vote?
Mayor, I read through it earlier, and I'm by no means an expert on it, but from what I could see of the text that it showed that was being changed, I'm okay with it, and it.
Mayor, I would go ahead myself and make a resolution, or that, do we adopt the resolution,
Yes, ma'am.
Wilson?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
That we adopt the resolution approving amendments to the High Country Council of Governments Charter.
I would second that.
Okay. Thank you, Debbie and Andrew. At this time, I'll do the roll call for the votes. Angela?
Yes.
Bert? Okay. Who am I missing? Michael?
Aye.
Okay, I think that gets everybody. All righty, that being said, the motion is approved, and Wilson, we'll let the High Country group know that.
Sir. All right, so having removed the next item, we'll move on to item G. North Carolina General Statute Chapter 160D update. And Phil True from the COG is going to join us, so let me promote him so that he can participate. Here he comes.
Adding
Phil and Kelly, excuse me.
Matt and Kelly too.
Meredith approved Kelly. So good evening, Phil and Kelly. They're here to answer questions and advise us, but Meredith's going to take us through this item.
Good evening again. Let me pull up our items on the agenda. I've been before you several times regarding the 160D updates, and we're getting a lot closer to the deadline. So things are going to start happening fairly quickly. In your agenda packet, you've got, of course, the overview, kind of talking about essentially all the different items that are been looked at so far, and most of it's been the zoning ordinance. So Phil and Kelly can kind of give a really good history on this because it started before I even got here with, let's see if I can get to it, where they wanted, essentially everyone wanted to do a cleanup for the zoning ordinance. Had a lot of really bad references, incorrect languages, and they started doing the cleanup proposal in the summer of 2019 when I arrived. We drafted up a contract to assist, and it morphed into the COG would also help me with the 160D updates, as it was a pretty large undertaking. So that kind of started, and we took that to the planning board throughout the past year, essentially every few months. And the planning board reviewed it numerous times. And we had workshops. We had at least 2 to 3 times that Phil, Kelly, and I sat down and went through line by line to make sure, you know, we could cover as much as possible, make sure it was correct. One of the curveballs was the general statute. They made the original proposal in Senate Law 2019, and then 160D was in December of 2019. And then in 2020 of last year, they did another update. So we've had 3 major updates that we've had to kind of juggle to make sure we're correctly representing the general statutes with this project and other town codes. So where we are tonight is, jumping ahead, is now it's up to the Board of Commissioners to review the zoning ordinance as well as the other town codes as I filter them through to you. And I've got a schedule up too, and we can also go through the really big major changes if you'd like. I think we've discussed those at previous meetings. But Phil, Kelly, do you want to add anything before I talk about the schedule?
Yeah, Meredith, I think you covered it adequately. You know, I think the bottom line is you contracted with us to go through and make a lot of clerical edits to the document. About the same time, the general statutes changed, so we just went ahead while we were going through the zoning ordinance word by word, incorporate all those new requirements in the general statute language. So it's really a project that had twofold purpose.
Okay, so I'm gonna share my screen so you guys can see the schedule, and you've also got it in your agenda packet. So what I've got planned going forward is the planning board is going to review chapter 1, 2, and 5 next week. And then we've got the subdivision chapter in our wireless communication ordinance in March. And they've already approved and recommended to the Board of Commissioners the zoning ordinance. So those cover all the chapters in our town code that are susceptible to the 160D update. So they'll do the public hearing because that's a part of our town code. And then for the Board of Commissioners, this is where I'd really like to get some discussion and start finding out your input. We've got the budget season ahead of us, so I know things are going to get extremely busy and the meetings are going to get long. So splitting it up or divvying it up, however you guys would like to, is kind of what I would like to discuss tonight. So the zoning ordinance is the largest chapter. It's got the most changes. It's even has a few policy items that I could go through with you that we're going to have to make a decision on. The other chapters, it's going to be very minor changes, small references, language, just different things that the general statute says you have to do. Those ones didn't really give us a lot of policy choices. It was you just got to make this happen. So I'm trying to be mindful of our budget sessions, but at the same time, we're working against a deadline where everything has to be adopted by July 1st. So June 24th is the last date we could have any public hearing and any kind of motion approval to get these in the books. So I've kind of outlined on the screen some options, with us also having a March 2nd regular meeting. I believe that was the date you approved tonight. That gives us another meeting if we need to discuss any of these edits. So any kind of thoughts? We need to get jump start on the zoning ordinance, and I was proposing to bring this to you for our work session at the end of the month, and then also the work session in March, since those are, I think you guys had mentioned splitting it up half and half, or if you've changed your mind and want to do it a different way, just let me know.
Meredith, will you, with the schedule, kind of let us know what part of that spiral bound book you gave us to read before that to be prepared?
Yeah, so we could go through certain articles. The planning board divvied them up among themselves. So it's really up to how you guys want to approach it. We just have got to get moving on it. So there are 11 articles, so it's not really even. Article 5 is probably the longest and had a lot of grammatical changes. So that's all our definitions and uses. So we could do 1 through 5 on the 25th, and then 6 through 11 on March 25th, if you want to split it up that way, or if anyone else has a preference. That was just the previous conversations we had.
And we'll just be reading through that and it'll show the changes and the edits and we'll just kind of be looking for anything that we may have questions about.
Yeah, and in your agenda packet, let me pull that up too. I've also got the major policy. Kind of Phil and I worked on figuring out what the big changes were, and we put that in, each article. So the one that I really want to make sure we really dive into is Article 3. That had a lot of policy, major changes to the boards. Also talks about staff, and there's a lot of different things in here that we just want to make sure everyone's on the same page since it is major. Another small minor policy that we're going to want to look at is Article 4. That talks about like fees and penalties, and while we don't have anything proposed there currently, there was one minor change for I think I had the power to waive penalties, and all the other town codes, it's up to the Board of Commissioners. So that was my recommendation, to have that all in alignment. Like I mentioned, Article 5, it's mostly definitions, and we're going to change some references. The same with 6. And as we go forward, it was a lot more grammatical and clerical errors through the rest of the chapters. So kind of heavy at the front, and then as we go through, a little less policy choices.
I'm personally okay with whatever you and the board decide to do. Just I'll be kind of looking to you to let me know what parts to read and to take care of, and I'll do it.
I feel the same way as Andrew. I can take some time and just look over it. I'll be happy to. You just need to assign to me what you want me to do.
Well, are y'all comfortable splitting it up that way? Did that schedule seem feasible? I know everyone's super busy, but I'll say when we look at the zoning ordinance, everything in red is what changed, and what's struck through is what's going away. So,
Meredith, I agree with the timeline too that we're looking at. Seems reasonable. We can always adjust as needed.
exactly. The only thing is those public hearings.
Meredith, I'll just mention also, to facilitate you meeting the schedule.
Yep.
If, as the commissioners are going through and have questions, you don't have to wait till the next meeting. You can hit us up with questions on that as you go, if that helps.
Yeah. And then the only other thing was based on the commissioner's policy, if you guys are comfortable with having, we're gonna have to get creative with like calling for the public hearing and advertising with our meeting dates. So if y'all are okay with having potentially a public hearing at a work session, or doing some action items at a work session.
Like I said, I'm okay with whatever you decide, and you let me know, and I'll do it.
Okay. Great. Well, if everyone's okay, I think you guys already have the zoning ordinance. You can get started with 1 through 5. Like I mentioned, 5 is a lot of grammatical. So if you want to do that, and we'll have that on the agenda to discuss at the February 25th work session. And then you guys can keep working on the other ones. I know that's really short notice, but we could just get started, and then wherever we get to at the March 25th, pick it up. And then the March 2nd too. So that's 3 potential dates now to work through this very large chapter.
Sounds good.
Okay, thank you. And thank you, Phil and Kelly, for being available and for all your hard work.
Certainly.
All right, Mr. Mayor, if you're okay with us moving on to mayor and council topics, would you give us a thumbs up? Okay. Are there any mayor or council topics?
Wilson, I did have one small thing, and that is just that we might add consider funding considerations for traffic calming when we have our budget conversations, to see if we could find something to go ahead and include for the upcoming fiscal year.
Yes, ma'am.
And to kind of add on what Debbie's mentioning, whenever it's safe, and I don't know when that'll be for the police department to be doing maybe a little stricter enforcement on some of those through streets, I would personally like to see that done. And if I don't know what the others think, but where the COVID stuff's been going on and we haven't been enforcing, it has maybe kind of contributed to the fact that we're having people telling us that people are speeding through there and running the stop signs. So as soon as that's safe and Chief Thornburg thinks it's safe, I would support that.
Yes, sir. Anyone else?
I'm going to talk about that too. There is concern and talking about the speed limit going down Main Street. I carry a lot of packages across that street, and I really would like to, I don't know if we could set a police car at the top of Main Street, even if it's empty, whatever could work to slow down on Main. I think that would really benefit our shopping. We're starting to get more shopping, more people walking on sidewalks, and we've got to make sure that we're not having a lot of speeding on Main. People stop at the stop signs and then they rev and go, take off like a shot. So I think when we've been talking about 8th and Toll and 6th Street, we really need to look at Main Street as well.
And in regards
I'd
to,
say, there's no sign on my street on there. They get bud signs, okay? They get bun and
Sir.
You get what I say?
Yeah.
No, on my street
Signs.
was tied.
Signs? Are you talking about signs?
Yeah.
Signs. Street signs.
Yeah, tied.
Yeah.
You got it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. We get that good. Somebody run my dog over. Ryan. Anyway, I've got it. You got it?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Also, I have one just quick thing that I want to mention too is that we had talked about the downtown parking situation. So I just want to make the board aware that Mr. Eddie Holland has sent out a survey via email. I'm not sure who he sent it to, but I received one, and I assume it's because I'm a downtown merchant. But encourage anyone that's received Mr. Holland's survey to respond to it. He has a date by February the 15th that he would like to get the answers by, so that maybe we can, it might help y'all with your further addressing of the downtown parking issues.
Yes, sir. We've been consulting with him and listening to his ideas. And so we're looking forward to seeing the results of his survey.
also, Wilson, is there any way you could find out information on how much those like digital speed signs cost?
Yeah. Yes, sir. When we talked today, I just had a moment and I couldn't remember, but I'll find that out for you.
What the information you got from those, it was helpful. that you went over with us last time. They seem to work for me personally. Like when I see them, I'm more aware of my speed, and I don't know how many of those we could afford or we would want to put around town, but it is a good reminder.
So the one we have requires a battery to work, so you couldn't just put it up and leave it up. So you'd have to get another kind, and that's why they're a little bit more expensive. But yeah, I'll get that information.
And I had on a different subject, one other thing I wanted to mention, I spoke to some of you about it, but I made a document that I sent to everybody that could be used to go to new businesses and visit them when they pop up in North Wilkesboro. But I would encourage us to come up with a protocol. And I don't know if this is something we need to work on at the retreat, but I guess it would be like a 3-point thing. First of all, how do we know when a new business pops up? What's the best way for us to know? And, once we figure that out, then I think it would be good to go probably have a staff person, or we could ask elected people to go and tell them thanks for choosing North Wilkesboro, and to take them a document or two. One would be the document that I have. I would be glad for the town to use it, or have the town create something like that one. But I will say that I spoke to in making it one, there's a cover letter to it, and then the other page to it is local resources that are available to businesses. So I listed the revolving loan program through our town, the mural grant, the facade grant, and I put a little description on it. And then I put a section where it had other local resources that could help businesses. And I spoke to the Chamber of Commerce, the Small Business Center, and a few other resources on there. And I put a description of what they could do to help. And I sent it to them, and they all okayed it and gave me the thumbs up with it. So I think it would be a helpful piece. And then the other piece that would probably be more up to staff, you could make a separate document or make something that goes on with that. I think it being separate may be good, but something that would have a list. And I know this might be hard because it would change from business to business, but of the requirements for that business, like a sign permit, fire inspection, and maybe have a line or two on there of who to contact if they need help with that. I think that would be a good way to get off on the right foot with new businesses opening in our town and start a relationship with them that would be beneficial for us and for them.
Yes, sir. All right, Mayor, if there's no other comments, the next item on the agenda is the closed session. And I'm hoping we can take just a brief recess so that I can stop the recording and do all the things we need to do to prepare for the closed session.
Well, Wilson, let me make the motion to go into closed session so that we can make it official. I make a motion to go into closed session to conduct a closed session according to GS 143-318.11, paragraph A, subsection 3, to consult with an attorney employed or retained by the public body in order to maintain the attorney-client privilege between the attorney and the public body.
Okay, I have a motion
Second.
and a second. Roll call vote. Angela.
I,
Bert.
excuse me.
Bert's muted. Debbie Ferguson.
Aye.
And Andrew.
Yes.
Okay, all those being said and done, the motion carries, and everybody take a little short break.